How's it going, my digital monsters? My name is AG, and welcome to the first deck profile of Alpha and Gamma Gaming. Today, we're going to be going over one of my new favorite decks of the format, Bagra Army. I'm not really a purple player, but after reading how Bagramon works, I thought to myself, man, he's evil, he's dark, and I'm loving everything about it. So, we're going to go over this deck profile, and if this helps out, please like and subscribe. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the deck profile. To start off with, we're going to go with 4 Demi-Meramons. I know he's a little up in price right now, but hopefully once those reprints come out, he'll be spectacular to buy for any purple deck. With the Bagra Army format of it, basically the on-save effects will make it to where anything that you attack with, if it dies, it's going to save under one of your tamers if you have it on board. So since you're saving and it's deleting itself, might as well get the effects of the Demi-Meramons. Being able to draw an extra card and trash one, controlling both hand and trash. Excellent support, and honestly, definitely better than that new Tokomon that came out. Next, we're going to go ahead and go into the rookies. To start off with, we have 4 Choo-Choo-Mon. Choo-Choo-Mon on play effect. When he comes into play, you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. You add 1 Bagra Army Digimon and 1 Uemano card from those 4 to your hand. The rest go to the bottom of the deck in any order. And of course, a lot of the rookies and champions will all have the save on deletion effect. Again, with the Demi-Meramons, definitely going to get a lot more benefit from it than you think. Next, we have 4 Chikurimon. Chikurimon, I think, is a lot better than the Choo-Choo-Mon. With his effect, on play, you may delete this Digimon, and then when you do, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with Bagra Army and their traits to your hand. Does not specifically say Digimon, so you could add a tamer, Uemano, to your hand, if you don't have one at least. And then, because he's deleting himself, if you have a tamer out already, you can go ahead and just put him underneath one of your tamers. So, good engine there. Next Digimon I only run a 3 of because he's not a Bagra Army, but he does support the whole engine that they got going. We have 3 Soundbirdmon. Effect, when attacking, you can place 1 purple Digimon card underneath one of your tamers to draw 1 card. Of course, he also has saves, so that engine still goes through. And with all your rookies and your champions, we'll get to that here in a minute, they all have the same inherent effect. When this Digimon is trashed from the Digivolution, you can go ahead and gain 1 memory. So it kind of helps to make sure that your opponent doesn't have as much memory to do things on their turn. Next, onto the champion, level 4s, we have 4 Damemon. Damemon, on play and on Digivolution, if you don't have a Uemano in play, you may play one from your hand without paying the memory cost. Damemon's definitely a good starter Digimon to have. Whether you're going first or second, sure you gotta pay that 5 cost, but at least you're getting a tamer out of it, and the fact that his effect works on Digivolution is definitely helpful too. Of course, he also has save and the same inherent effect as the rookies. Next, we have 3 Tuarmon. Tuarmon? I think it's Tuarmon. We'll go with that. Tuarmon has decoy for Bagra Army, meaning if anything on your board would be targeted for deletion, you can go ahead and pop him instead in order to save it. And then you have an alternate effect. While he's on board, your Uemanos are not going to be affected by any deletion effects. So you don't have to worry about, say, Black War Greymon popping your tamer as long as you have Tuarmon out. Then he has an on-deletion effect that says, when he's deleted, you may play 1 Damemon from your trash suspended without paying the memory cost. So, gets you at that other Damemon, definitely helpful. Just to have an extra board for any sort of Digicross. Speaking of Digicross, we're going to get into Mad Leomon, 3 of, and Mad Leomon Arm Mode. They both have similar effects, so I figured we might as well just show them off right now. For Mad Leomon, whenever an opponent would add a card to hand, you may trash one of this Digimon's Digivolution cards in order to make that opponent trash the same amount of cards they added to hand. So it makes it to where they don't get a major net gain. They're just replacing one card for another. Whereas Mad Leomon Arm Mode, you may trash a card from this Digivolution when your opponent adds a card to their hand in order to draw 2 cards. Honestly, I love Mad Leomon Arm Mode more, just because the deck, other than the Demi-Marimons and the Searches, this is more of a consistent draw for your opponent's turns, because both of their effects happen on your opponent's turn. And then with their Digicross, you Digicross into Mad Leomon Mad Leomon Arm Mode using Mad Leomon and any Bagra Army Digimon, whereas Mad Leomon, you just use one Bagra Army Digimon in order to Digicross it. They both also have the same inherent effect as the other Digimon we've shown off so far. Definitely good cards to add into the deck. I would love to have more Mad Leomon Arm Mode, but I had to make room for one Loemon. Yes, I understand he's not a Bagra Army in trait. However, hybrid Digimon are perfect in this format still. I don't think I've ever seen any format so far where hybrid has not been useful. And since we have Purple Tamers in the deck, it's definitely perfect for an ad, at least a one-of. Next, we're going to get into the ultimates, the only level 5s in this deck, which are 3 Muso Nightmon. Running only 3 is practically all you need. When you go into your Megas, you're using your Tamers in order to play them, because with Uemano, you can play your Megas for less. But we'll get into that here in a minute. But with Muso Nightmon, his effect activates both on play and when digivolving. He reads, whenever you digivolve or play him, you may play one Digimon with Bagra Army in its traits underneath him has his most Digivolution source. Then, if you have a Tawarmon underneath him, you may de-digivolve one of up to 3 of your opponent's Digimon. Well, it's not up to, it's exactly 3. But the de-digivolution is just perfect. It's a good stall engine in order to stop your opponent. Plus, Muso Nightmon counts as both Dark Nightmon and Tawarmon. So, he has a Digivolution cost of 4 on a level 4 and 5 on a level 2 that is black. So, you could even Digivolve a Muso Nightmon on top of a Muso Nightmon for that black Digivolution cost. And since it counts as Tawarmon, you'd be able to get the effect off. He also has an on-deletion effect that when he is deleted, you may add 2 purple and or black Digimon cards from your trash to your hand. He does have Digicross, however, I don't really do the Digicross as much with Muso Nightmon because it requires you to also have Dark Nightmon. You could, again, technically use him as Dark Nightmon, however, I find that going for the Digivolution and then drawing is definitely better. Now on to our Megas. Start off with, we have one Blastmon. Blastmon already comes in with Rush, however, if you play him with using the Uemano effect to add Digivolution sources into him, as long as he has 3 or more sources, he will have Blitz. So, bring him in, swing, hit for big. Then you don't really need to worry about him being suspended because his other effect on your opponent's turn, once per turn. When an opponent's Digimon attacks by trashing one of this Digimon's Digivolution sources, you may delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So he's kind of helpful in the fact of the deck doesn't run blockers. Unless, of course, you count the next Mega. But he's a pseudo blocker in the sense that he can delete your opponent's Digimon as long as they're level 4 or lower. He's definitely good for stalling and definitely good for hitting. Next, our technical technical blocker. 2, Tactimon. Tactimon on play effect. You may play 2 level 4 or lower Digimon cards with Bagra Army and their traits from your trash without paying the memory costs. Then, the Digimon played by this effect gain blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. Again, he's technically not a blocker, but he does allow you to bring out stuff from your trash that will have blocker. So it stalls the opponent for a bit. I mean, unless of course they got piercing. And we're definitely seeing that a lot more in this format lately. But I feel like with this, it'll definitely be fast enough to where you don't have to worry about it. Then, his other effect, on your opponent's turn, whenever you would activate an effect that would trash a Digivolution source from another Digimon, you can actually use Digivolution sources from Tactimon as the cost instead. So, the things like Blastmon and Mad Leomon, Arm Mode, and regular Mad Leomon, you can use Tactimon and use his sources in order to activate their effects instead. So it's definitely a good add. Thus the reason for 2. I really would have preferred doing 2 Blastmon, but I get more use out of the Tactimon than I do Blast. So, with that being said, now we're going to get to what I believe is the ace monster, or ace Digimon rather, of this deck. We have 3 Bagramon. Bagramon is basically the big boss of this deck. I mean, his name is Bagramon, aka Bagra Army. On play, or when digivolving, if your opponent has 1 or fewer Digimon on board, you may look at their hand and then trash 1 card from their hand. However, and this is the best effect, when your opponent has 2 or more Digimon on board, you can choose one of your opponent's Digimon to place underneath one of your opponent's other Digimon as its bottommost source. Meaning that when you choose a target, say we're playing against Black War Greymon and they have another Greymon on board. We target that big stack Black War Greymon, and then we just take the Black War Greymon, put it right underneath the Greymon. Everything else that was underneath Black War Greymon disappears. So you get a big board, or a big boss out of the way rather, and you get an additional effect, which is all turns once per turn. Whenever your opponent would digivolve or would add a Digivolution source to another Digimon on their side, you may trash one of this Digimon's Digivolution sources to trash the top card of your opponent's security. This effect has definitely saved me quite a bit. Granted, it is a once per turn. However, if you have multiple Bagramons out, they do pop off in separate chains. So, if I had 2 out, I could easily just get rid of their sources in order to get rid of 2 security. Then, because you're trashing sources from them, the inherit effects will also gain you in memory. Definitely the ace of this deck. And we do run 1 level 7. We run Omnimon Zwart. Now, Omnimon Zwart was something that I kind of did a last minute change on. I was originally running Millenniumon in order to counter the Death Axe problem. However, I found that lately at my tournament, I haven't seen a whole lot of people use Death Axe. So hopefully we're out of that Death Axe wipe phase. And with Omni Zwart though, you definitely get a lot more for it than you would Millenniumon. So he reads, you get to trash the top 3 cards of your deck, then you may play up to 2 black and or purple Digimon cards without paying the memory costs from your trash, as long as their play cost is 8 or less. It's not a combined, it is just as long as they are 8 or less, you can play 2 of them. So you could go in and get, say, a Tuarmon, so that way you have your protection for your Uemanos against Black War Greymon, or you could go and get your inner battlefield effects like Chikurimon, or Choo-Choo-Mon in order to get your extra searches that you need. Basically, he is definitely a good card to add, as opposed to, say, Calling from the Darkness, which you would delete one of your Digimon for 1 in order to add 2 cards to the hand. Why add the 2 when you could just play 2? Then, Omnimon's rest of the effect says, when attacking, you may return 1 level 6 Digimon card in this Digimon's Digivolution sources to its owner's hand to delete one of your opponent's Digimon suspended with a play cost of 12 or less. So he's definitely going to be able to take care of some Megas, but you're more trying to get rid of their big stack that they have on board that they're still trying to build. Granted, the effect is going to be a one-time use as you're digivolving on a Bagramon or a Blastmon, but it's definitely well worth having that effect as a last-ditch effort. And that is all for the Digimon. We're now going to go into the Tamers. Of course, we have to start off with our 4 Uemanos. Uemano's basically the key to make this whole deck work. That's the reason why you're going to be searching and drawing, trying to make sure that you get to see you as fast as you can. Uemano reads, all turns, whenever a Digimon is added to this Tamer, and it's a once per turn, you get to draw 1 and gain 1 memory. So again, you're doing the minimizing the amount of memory your opponent has, so that way they can only do less and less, and then you're getting draw power at the same time. Next, once per turn, you may, whenever you would play a level 4 or higher purple Digimon with Bagra Army in its traits, you may suspend this Tamer and use up to 3 sources from any Tamer. So it could be him, or it could be any other Tamer that you have on board. You would suspend this and you can choose 3 targets from there to then play one of your higher Digimon for less cost. To be precise, it would reduce the play cost by 2 for every Digimon that you have. So say I had 2 Uemanos out, both of them had 3 Digimon on them. I suspend them both. I can then use all 3 from both of them, so 6 total, to play a Digimon for a reduced cost of 12. Meaning, I could play Bagramon for 2 instead of 14. And he still has Digivolution sources underneath him in order to activate his effect. Again, definitely one of your ace cards that you need in your hand at the start, or find as soon as possible. Next, our last Tamer. 2, Starter Deck Matt Ishida. Or not Starter Deck, actually BT2. BT2 Matt Ishida is one of your memory setters. So if you're at 2 or less memory, you get to start up at 3 at the start of your turn. Then the on play, you may return 1 purple Digimon card or 1 purple option card from your trash to your hand. This has definitely helped me out a lot more than I thought it was. I was originally running Ayamako, so that way I can trash the top card of my deck by suspending it. But with Matt Ishida, I can get my option cards that are also searching or that help me deal with big threats. So definitely a good Tamer to have. Alright, finally, we're going to get into our options. We run 1 Evil Squall, which reads, when you would play this card, if you have a purple Tamer in play, you may reduce the play cost of this by 1, meaning it would be a 7 cost instead of 8. Activating the effect, delete 3 of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon that are level 5 or less. So, if they're trying to go wide on you, you just play Evil Squall in order to get rid of 3 of their threats. Next, we run 4 Buzzing Fists. Buzzing Fist reads that you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You add 1 card with Bagra Army in its traits among them to your hand, then trash the rest. Then, if you have a purple tamer in play, you may choose one Digimon card with Bagra Army in its traits and put it underneath the tamer. Definitely a good search card. And for 2, it's really not bad. And if you have Uamano out, you're basically playing this for 1 instead of 2. And you're drawing an extra card out of it. Definitely a really good card. The security effect, it does read differently, but it has been errated. But it's supposed to read, you may play 1 purple tamer card from your hand without paying the memory cost. Then, you may add this card to your hand. So it allows you to play a Uamano for free or a Matt Ishida for free. Next, and the final 4 cards of the deck. 4, Astral Snatcher. Here, we'll do this instead so you can all see it better. There we go. Astral Snatcher is a 7 cost option card. And I fought with myself for a bit on running 4 of this card. However, seeing it more often than not is definitely better. This card reads, you may place up to 3 purple Digimon cards with Bagra Army in their traits from your trash underneath one of your Digimon as its bottom sources, or put it underneath one of your tamers. Then, if you have a Digimon or tamer with Bagra Army in its traits, you may place one of your opponent's Digimon underneath one of your other opponent's Digimon as its bottommost source. So basically, it's another Bagramon. Being able to take a big threat and putting it underneath one of your other opponent's weaker Digimon. Everything else that was underneath that big boss would just go away. And more often than not, seeing this 7 cost option card, whether it was in the security or seeing it in my hand, definitely saved me more than I thought it would. But that is it for the deck profile. What did you all think? If you thought this was a great deck, please like and subscribe. And as always, we will see you in the next video.